contribute? Say something.
You want me to say something? Fine. I'll say something. You people. You're not a race. You are a virus. You destroy the world. Everything beautiful you poison. You drag us from our homes. You rape our daughters, murder our sons. You crack our spines and do all you can to break our will. You stab us. Then you put the knife in our hand and tell us it's our fault. And if you don't do it yourself, you stand by, close your eyes, and pretend there's nothing wrong. And then you pray to your God to silence our screams so that you can enjoy the happiness that we built for you with our blood. But it's not your fault. It's the only way you know how to be. And the only thing that will change anything is if another virus comes along and does to you what you do to us. And I hope that happens very soon.
Well, this evening obviously hasn't gone as I'd hoped. And I think I'm having a full-on panic attack right now, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom and get myself together, and when I come back, I hope you don't see me as the devil.
Good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your nighttime, right time DJ Music here with another episode of the Chop Shop. Y'all see what we're going to talk about today? Project 2025. The Chop Shop reviews Project 2025. The man behind the plan to dismantle democracy. Some of you may agree with what I have to say, and some of you may not agree with what I have to say. But again, that's why we have discussions. So if you're down in the listening lounge and you want to, have a disagreement or a conversation with me, please keep them clean. And I will acknowledge you. Trolls, as long as you come in here and talk, do what you do, that's fine. But as soon as you get disrespectful, you was out of here. No questions asked. All right, we got some important stuff to talk about today. Ain't that right, Sandy? How you doing? Good to see you as always, sitting up in the front row. Just as sure, how you doing? Candy Cane Lane, pleasure to see you. For those of you drifting in and out of the clouds, thank y'all so very much. Project 2025. I started off this stream with Dennis Brown, Revolution. Part of the song says, let me turn this background music down a little bit more here. Turn it down a little bit. I don't feel like I'm screaming. Part of the song says, let me make sure I got it right here. It said, many are called, but few are chosen. And before that clip, you saw my man, the elegant actor that he is, dismantle someone with facts. Because if you look at the historical evidence, what this brother said was absolutely right. Some of you folks are viruses. And here's a classic example that we're going to talk about, in my opinion, is a virus. Those two gentlemen you see on the screen, Donald Trump and Kevin Roberts. What's more dangerous? What do these two men have in common? One is educated. One is uneducated, if you ask me. But they both understood one thing. In order to know black people, in order to figure out their weaknesses, their strengths, I got to be amongst them. Donald Trump did it through rap music. Hey there, Pure Butterfly. Donald Trump did it through rap music. This guy here, Kevin Roberts, did it through education. So much so he got his PhD in us. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? How we doing? Come on in. Got distracted a bit, but he did. So much so, as I was doing my research on him, again, I always like to listen to other streamers, and sometimes you run into some gems. Sometimes you talk to other people behind the scenes, and they put you on to some information that you may not have known. And then you're going to get the detractors that's going to come in here and says, this is what you're saying is a bunch of hogwash. Never coming in with any direct facts, only insults. What's up there, Sock Passe? How you doing, good brother? Only coming in with insults and innuendos, no facts. I've noticed that a lot about the folks that try to defend Donald Trump or Kevin Roberts and Project 2025. A man is as they say, judged by his works. When it's time for Donald Trump and Kevin Roberts, as they say, to get ready to go to that line to the pearly gates to be judged, I don't think either one of these men will make it. Like I said, what these two men have in common is they studied us. They studied what we do, how we do, and why we do. They studied our families. They studied our history. And then in the YouTube streets, you got, I got to use this word, Sambo soldiers that tells you our history isn't important. But this man here on the left-hand side got a PhD in it. Picture that. You got folks like the Angry Man. You got folks like Cellulite Podcast. You got folks like Obsidian. You got folks like the Rogers Report. You got folks all over the YouTube streets. What's his name? That dumbass. What's his name? What's his name? The sand dude from whatchamacallit, Myron Gaines, and of course you got the king of the Sambo soldiers with the glasses, Anton Daniels. If you listen to those streams at some point in time or the other, and Sharon Bracey, I got to add you into this as well. If you listen to the streets at some time or the other, they have allowed white folks to come up and infiltrate us. They have allowed black folks. A CT, you're another one. Chaotic Truth, you're another one. They have allowed the opposition. Let me go ahead and throw this disclaimer out right now. I'm not talking to all white folks. Absolutely, positively not. Let's make that clear, abundantly clear. I'm talking to folks that follow behind Donald Trump, that follow behind Kevin Roberts, the Sambo soldiers like Delano Squires, and the folks that we covered last Saturday. The ones that run around with us here in the YouTube streets, that think it's cool to bring these folks up on their platforms and allow to give them a voice. Usually it's against us. What was his name? Be Brave. The blacks. You got John Galt over there talking about the blacks. Meanwhile, it's absolutely a state of mind there, Pure Butterfly. I'm glad you said that, because it absolutely is. Because if you look at it in its smallest form, like you bring it down to it, there's only one race. Somebody want to dispute that? The human race. And we just all happen to come in different shades and colors and sizes, speak differently. Some of us have wide eyes, some of us have slant eyes, but we all have the same characteristics. We all share the same amount of, if you put chocolate in your mouth, not unless you're sick, all of us melt chocolate at 98 degrees, 98.7 degrees. That's why they make chocolate bars like that. But here is someone that studied this. Thank you. See, again, that's why you put yourself around smart people, because they know what you're talking about. They can add to the conversation. Let's get up our first thing. I'm going to show you how this guy on the right, Kevin Roberts, was able to figure out what we was doing. But I'm not going to tell you. I'll let my man tell you. Hold on just a second. Let me move over here. I'll let this young brother tell you, because that's the thing, folks. I like seeing the younger generation get involved. You young folks, y'all got to talk to your folks out there. Y'all got to let them know what's going on. This is not the way to go. All week long, all I was seeing was brothers and sisters tearing down Carmelo Anthony. Well, not all of them, but that's predominantly what I see. Let me take this off the screen here. That's enough of me babbling. Let me take this off, and let's go to our first clip.
President of the Heritage Foundation, who himself got a PhD in African American history and then used it to author Project 2025 and dismantle civil rights. Kevin, Mr. Roberts, this mastermind, this genius who got a PhD in studying my people. That just shows you how worthless the actual study of African Americans are by these so-called higher academic minds, because in all your studies you didn't learn anything about the 250 slave revolts in this country. Over 250 slave revolts in this country. What type of supremacy do you honestly believe you have over us that you think you'll be able to bring us low, to make us your
How about that, Kevin Roberts? Why isn't none of that mentioned in your dissertation? Why is none of the over 200, almost 300 slave rebellions in this country was not mentioned in your dissertation? Why did you only include families and how we put our families back together through all those years of slavery? This young brother right here, I think he's in law school or is about becoming a lawyer. But the thing about, I noticed this, folks, this particular video got about 30 views. He has about 260, I think I'm his 265th subscriber. But you go over there and look at Angry Man. He says he has close to 1 million subs. This brother right here, 265, because I saw it last night myself. I subscribed to him. Dropping gems. Check this out. Hey there, Atlanta. How you doing? Great to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in.
Or whipping boys and girls again. Like, I don't understand how arrogant the mind must actually work in you people, you soulless, like ghoulish people who have nothing better to do than to get PhDs in other people so you can attack. How worthless was your life that you didn't get a PhD in Irish history, European history, something that
with all that European history that they say they have, with all that history they say they have, Kevin Roberts, why would you decide to study us? He's absolutely right. Another great point. Why didn't you study your background? Why didn't you do a PhD on your people, your Irish heritage, your European heritage? Why wasn't your PhD written on that? Again, this young brother dropping jewels, dropping dimes. Matter of fact, these is them big 50-cent pieces. Y'all know, remember them?
Lifted you as a person. Instead, you studied another to bring them down and beneath. It speaks everything it needs to speak about you, not us. Civil rights. Rights is what this man and what these people are trying to dismantle. Rights. Entitlements. Look to the entitlements to understand the logic behind why somebody would want to destroy it. Why? Is it giving this person more than what I'm getting? Because we live in a meritocracy, which means everybody should be entitled to access the same exact resources in order to go for and or towards the same exact goal.
Now, throughout the history of America, has that been true? Has that slogan, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, been true for Black folks? It absolutely, positively have not. And the whole of America, and I'll say this, the whole of America acts like when we say that, we are, dare I use the word, drowning in our own self-pity. We're doing this victimhood. But it seems to me, in order to be a victim, there's got to be a perpetrator first. Somebody had to put you in the state of mind of being a victim in order for you to derive or arrive at that decision. Y'all don't hear me.
So is this giving somebody an unfair advantage? No. And in what sense, if it is to be perceived as an unfair advantage, is this advantage justified? Because we do believe as a humane society in justification, things being justified. So what then becomes the justification for giving someone an unfair advantage? I would say, since you people don't want to focus in on slavery, and you want to say that was so many years ago, but it was closer in time than 1776, right? And we're talking about your involvement, not British.
Pow, pow, pow. Shoot him again, brother. Shoot him again. They love, what's about to happen here in a few days, folks? Today is the 27th. In 7 days, what will the whole of America be doing? Barbecues, time off from work, hanging out with families, fireworks, all that for the American independence. Think about that word, independence. But during there's a time in American history that y'all held people in bondage and still said America was independent. That everybody in this country, every man, every woman, every child had the right and go out and achieve. Notice I'm using the word right, the American dream. So when you folks come at me saying make America great again, so far, when has it been great for black and brown people? And I'll include the brown people in this part of this too. When has it been? We know what you did to the Japanese in World War II. We knew what you did to the Chinese. Y'all called them coolies. We know what you did to the American Indians. We know what you're doing to the Somalis right now. We know what you're doing to every immigrant that's ever come to this country other than the Irish. But y'all shitting on them first, Kevin. They shitted on your ancestors first. The Irish was dirty. Nobody, no white American, no purebred white Anglo-Saxon white American would be caught dead 50 feet from having conversation with an Irishman. Or like Archie Bunker used to say, remember when y'all folks, they found out y'all was from Poland? Remember the jokes? How many Polacks does it take to screw a light bulb? How they desecrated y'all for years until they figured they needed you amongst their population. All of a sudden, the Polish jokes went over there. It was no longer any good to talk about people from Poland. But the nigger jokes kept on. The Sambo stories kept going on. The Al Jolsons, hello, my baby, hello, my sweetheart. That kept going on. The greatest cinematic movie of all time, according to President Woodrow Wilson, was Birth of a Nation, where they depicted black men as animals and savages. But this country is built on what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So far, where's black and brown people fit into that equation? Or do I need to speak about the Constitution that y'all love to bring up? We have the constitutional right. The Second Amendment gives me the right to bear arms. The First Amendment, like Chuck the Builder, gives me the power to go out and call black people niggers with unimpunity, pull out a gun and shoot said nigger, and then claim self-defense. And then y'all try your damnedest to bail this scum out. Tell me where I'm wrong at so far. Tell me Chud the Builder doesn't go around shitting on black people for no reason, for clicks and views. He's not watching himself. Tell me there's not a GoFundMe and a Go Get Me or whatever the fuck they call it for Chud the Builder to get out of jail. Tell me that I just not see a video of a pregnant 19-year-old girl that's got it put in jail and a policewoman beating the shit out of her. Tell me I just didn't see that. Tell me I just did not report a couple of days ago of a black girl being hung the day before Juneteenth. But somebody will scream black on black crime. Some trolls will come in here in a little while and scream black on black crime. I don't have a problem with white folks. Seems to me white folks have the problem with me and mine. You talk about Carmelo Anthony. Instead of running him from under the tent, why y'all white folks didn't openly embrace him? Say, hey, I understand that it's raining out there. Just sit here till the rain is done. But you got the Sambo soldiers and the race soldiers saying that this kid is now a bona fide murderer. Ignoring Taz the GOAT did a great stream the other day of pointing out the young men, well, young white men, as y'all want to call them, misguided youth that go in the grocery stores killing folks. The Columbine effect. And what they'll do is they'll pull out that one guy, the DC sniper, to equate to the years of them just going around because they felt bad that morning. Or they feel that they're being replaced. Heather Heyer lost her life because of white supremacists want to march in Charlottesville, Virginia, with tiki torches saying Jews will not replace us. But y'all want to convince me and other black folks that we have the problem. The Second Amendment works for y'all. Let's remember when those guys in Oakland went to the Capitol. Y'all know those guys who I'm talking about? The Black Panther Party went to the Capitol with guns, didn't point them at anyone. And how quickly California and the whole state changed their laws to make damn sure that that never happened again. J. Edgar Hoover called Martin Luther King the worst thing against American democracy. A cross-dresser. A Sambo soldier, if you don't know it. J. Edgar Hoover was not white, folks. He was a passer. But then if I look at the history of America like I've been reporting, that's all of y'all heroes. Thugs, rapists, murderers, thieves, land snatchers. That's what y'all good at. Elvis was a hero the most, but he never meant shit to me, you see. Straight out racist, simple and plain. Fuck him and John Wayne. Remember that verse? Folks didn't pay attention to that back then. I bet you're paying attention to it now. When your own family says that you are a racist. But let's continue.
Involvement, your involvement in slavery. It's closer than 1776. But whatever, we don't have to go into that hypocrisy, right? Because it's your world, it's your narrative.
It's my country. It's my world.
So let's stay in the hypocrisy of your narrative, because you people seemingly have absolutely no problem with shaving off our humanity. So I want to focus on something closer in time than actual fucking slavery. And we can look at Jim Crow, this fictional judicial creation manufactured by Plessy v. Ferguson.
Everyone is probably, it's an earshot of me right now, probably have grandparents or great-grandparents that's still alive that went through this era. I know I do. I know there's still people alive around me to this day that went through this era that could give you first-hand accounts of not being able to drive through Main Street. That's a little closer in time, but he's going to do some more for you.
Defying the supremacy of the race based upon what? Based upon numericals. It wasn't based upon anything of value of substance in regards to your people. Read Plessy v. Ferguson. Look at what the Justice Harlan points out in the dissent. Look at what he highlights. Like, you people created supremacy out of paper, out of belief systems that you hold, and then you superimpose or force them onto others, and then they labor under it. But you are the author. You are the manufacturer. You are everything.
Kevin Roberts, you are the author. You are the manufacturer. Y'all have been shopping around that Project 2025 for years and found you found a stooge, a racist willing enough that the American public put in charge of them to implement Project 2025. Several times before the election, I had guests up here trying to warn y'all. I had knew several people, the Defiant Lawyers, and several other people trying to warn Black people against Project 2025 and what it was going to do to Black people, what it was going to do to brown people, and more importantly, we did not exclude white people, what it was going to do to you as an average American citizen. And you now see the effects of it. But as usual, y'all need a scapegoat. So guess who you chose this time? Latinos. You know why y'all chose Latinos? Because you did everything you possibly could to bait black people into this fight. And we collectively decided to say, nope, not this time. Only mistake we did, folks, and I'll admit to this, was not vote. That's where as black people we went wrong in this last election cycle. Over 2 million of us sat out. That's where we went wrong. That's the only place we went wrong, not voting. And for that other percentage, that 20% of black men and black women that voted for Trump, how that working out for you? How about your Latinos? How that working out for you? How about you people that was just above the poverty line? How that working out for you? White America. How about the threat of new wars? No new wars. How that working out for y'all? If you got kids that's 18, 19, 20, 21 of military age, how that's working out for you? Well, by a known draft dodger, Bone Spurs. How that working out for you for the guy that's in charge of the Secretary of Defense usually, but they call it the Secretary of War, can't do 3 pull-ups. But he's going to talk about running around with a warrior ethos. Y'all should be embarrassed at the leaders that you chose. But let's go.
Thing about what you are doing is an indictment against you. It's not an indictment against us. You attacking and targeting us because you don't want to do right by us. And that's where the whole reparations comes in these ideas of unfair advantage. Because you don't want to do right by us. And you don't want people to even know that there's an unrighteous deed done to us for an extended period of time that justifies an advantage.
And again, if you look up the definition of reparations, it means to repair something. In order to repair something, folks, you have to first acknowledge that it's broken or you broke it and what you need to do to fix it. The United States is not going to ever admit to the ills of slavery. Never. So if that's what we're hinging reparations on, you can forget that. Because in order for you to repair something, you have to acknowledge that it's broken or when it was broke and how long it was broke and what you're going to do to fix it.
You don't even want the dialogue on that. What arrogance you exist in when you can try to force onto us your belief systems and you want to make your belief systems ours and we're refusing it. You're telling us to remember times in your history where you felt as though you were at the pinnacle of your race. Another fiction you created. And then when we say, okay, but this also was happening at that time, and if you just focus on that, it devalues this. And then you say we are unpatriotic. So, right, Kevin, the supremacy of the race based upon manufacturer. You are. Everything about.
My fault there, folks. I pushed the wrong button. But anyway, speaking of patriotic, I don't think there's any man, woman that's any more patriotic than black folks. We asked to get into a war with y'all. Remember that? Because y'all didn't want us in the military. We asked to help the fight to save democracy. Remember that? World War II, World War I, y'all really didn't allow us. That's what the low body count was about. And somebody came into my stream one day being a troll. He pointed that out to me because I said, name a war that blacks weren't involved in. He said World War I. And I thought about it for a minute. You know, he's right. But then you had to give context to why there was no black folks in the military in World War I. Because the United States of America didn't allow you to. That's why. That's why.
what you are doing is an indictment against you. It's not an indictment against us. You attacking and targeting us because you don't want to do right by us. And that's where the whole reparations comes in, and these ideas of unfair advantage, because you don't want to do right by us. And you don't want people to even know that there's an unrighteous deed done to us for an extended period of time that justifies.
Okay, Signal. You say I'm not Signal Corps. I'm not sure if you're coming in to say that as a positive or a negative. So I'll ask you, what do you mean by Black Americans created the Republican Party? Please explain that before I expound on it any further.
An advantage. You don't even want the dialogue on that. What arrogance you exist in when you can try to force onto us your belief systems, and you want to make your belief systems ours, and we're refusing it. You're telling us to remember times in your history where you felt as though you were at the pinnacle of your race. Another fiction you created. And then when we say, okay, but this also was happening at that time, and if you just focus on that, it devalues this. And then you say we are unpatriotic. So patriotism requires telling half-truths. Then that means patriotism.
And again, he's absolutely right. So is that the key to being patriotic, telling half-truths? Because tell me, we all did not see a mob of folks attack the Capitol building. Tell us we didn't see that. Would it not be true? Would it be more patriotic to say that didn't happen? Would that be fair to say that didn't happen? We all saw it. Lord Naroku. I'm not sure, again, you folks come in with these general conversations, so I don't know what side that you're on here. So you say, I don't know a single human being who thinks along these premises, meaning thinks along the premises of me and the guy that's on the screen, or thinks along the premises of the people that I'm talking about. Which one? Please be more specific. Well, okay, I see what you mean. Are we just going to completely ignore history? Of course, being patriotic means selective history. That's a no-brainer. It's observable. No, but honestly, I understand what you're saying. I think there might be a bit of sarcasm in that, but I understand what you're saying. But that's not the definition of being patriotic, telling half-truths. Now, I think anybody can look up the definition of patriotic. You won't find that anywhere.
Requires a lie, because anything short of the truth is a fiction. It's a deviation from the course of truth. That's the reason why I don't like the idea of the Holy Bible. I don't, because for a thing to be holy means it must be unmolested, untouched. And can't nobody say that that Bible has not went through I don't know how many iterations, no matter how many versions. There is an authentic version. The most authentic one you can find over there in Ethiopia. But what the English did to it, that is not holy. There is actual valid claim.
And again, I don't want to step on anyone's religion or beliefs or whatever you have, so I'm going to leave that part alone. But there is some value, there is some truth to what he just said. This young man on the screen right here, he's not the only one that thinks that there's some fallacies in the Bible. I can point out one for sure, that, no women had anything to do. What about all those books that was written by women that selectively was excluded from the Bible? I don't know. That's pretty valid, don't you think?
That Shakespeare himself wrote that. That's not holy. And you guys are comfortable living for some odd reason in falsehood. How is that a way to exist on the planet? And then for those of you with that that je ne sais quoi of caveman in you, that you just cannot resist this inevitable conclusion that, well, if they won't stop talking about it, then how about we eliminate them? And right now, elimination is, oh, let's just force them out of our country. Again, based upon the...
And again, how many times have we heard that? If you don't like America, you can get out of it. You can leave. How many times have you heard that? If your complaint is, listen, we want equal rights. How many times have you heard people say, well, if you don't like what's going on in this country, maybe you should leave? Our ancestors built this country, and we as Black people don't have the right to say that either, that our ancestors built this country. Your ancestors profited. Ours didn't.
Idea that might equals right. So, oh, let's just force them out of our country. That doesn't stop the internet. That doesn't stop your children from accessing the internet. Because even without us being in your country, you're still going to have an idea of the First Amendment unless in that same process you repeal it, or if there is some type of implied repeal, this abomination of a Supreme Court could read into the mass expulsion of us as a people. If they can read that the First Amendment is going to be repealed because of that act, then unless that can be created, and this Supreme Court wouldn't stop itself at the task, then your children are going to have access to an internet, which means they're going to have access to our voices, access to the horrors and realities that were inflicted upon those of us that you were capable of expelling out in the manner in which you envisioned.
Now, let me speak on that. Again, you know what they say, that sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, right? I think the worst thing that the white population, and again, I'll use that disclaimer, not all white folks, but I think the worst thing that happened to white population and your idea that you was going to keep everything under lock and key was this thing we call the internet. You can't hide information anymore, and it gets to the masses quicker, instantly. You can't have a population using something and tell the other population that they can't use it. Whereas before, you could stop Black people from going to school, which you did. In slavery, you could stop your slaves from reading, which you did. You could stop people from acquiring information, but in the information age, as they call it, you can't anymore. Everybody's information is what they're holding in their hand, that cell phone. All you got to do right now is say a few magic words, and the answer will show up on your phone. You can't put a lid on that. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube anymore when it comes to the internet. And whether you want to give credit where credit's due, I got to shout out Tariq Nasheed with that Hidden Color series. Although it to me, it kind of lost its vigor after they started with these in-house boss of fighting. But it was quite effective to open up the eyes of some people that are thinking, hey, wait a minute. You mean we did that? You mean that's not the monkey looking up at the sky? You mean Columbus really did not discover America? You mean Black people was really here before? You mean Black people could be considered indigenous to this part of the world? Really? That opened up a lot of people's eyes. How? Because you was able to disseminate that information quickly. CDs, YouTube, World Star, believe it or not. But I digress. Let's go. The Tin Man. That's who we're listening to, folks. And I got to applaud you, young brother, for being out there putting out this information. Like I always say, information don't come to you. You got to go get it. You got to go get it.
Of course, that's not going to ever happen. I want you to know that. That won't ever happen. You will destroy this entire country before that happens. You have this very fictional belief that we are going to bow to you and that we only means black people. You're wrong. We've had centuries of contact with each other. Just because there's this massive depiction of this unimaginable separation and division and divisiveness that exists between us as a people, don't get it fucked up. There'll be a whole bunch of your own people knocking your fucking brains out. There'll be a whole bunch of people knocking your fucking brains out because you've had no problem with painting yourself as the Nazi, as the bad guy in the story. So don't think it will play out that way, but I want to entertain your fiction so we can get to some type of inevitable outcomes. So once we're out of your country and we're no longer here and your children have access to our voices, then you're going to want to try to silence us over there.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. As they always say, let's take all the black people out of the United States of America. Now, for our last facts and figures that I checked, I think there's about 52.9 million black people, men, women, and children in this country. Let's say that we all did a mass exit. What impact do you think that would have on the United States of America? Do you think it would be a slow impact, or do you think the impact will be felt immediately? I can tell you it will be felt immediately. Everything that you buy will go up. Every job that you have, some of the factories might close down. Think about the jobs that y'all say that, like Trump said, was black jobs only. Some of y'all white folks gonna have to go get them black jobs. Not to mention the economic destruction that it would place on you as an American citizen. For those of you that want us to hell going, everything going up. Housing, food, gas, clothes. Because you just removed 52 million people that could buy your products off your soil. Think about that for a minute, folks. Some white folks always say, you should go back to Africa. What if we did? What if we did? What if every black man, woman, and child went back to Africa? What about if every Hispanic person went back to Mexico or whatever Latin country they came from? What if every Chinese person went back to China? What about if every Korean person went back to Korea? What about if every people of color went back to their respective countries, as y'all say? If all the Indians go back to India, as y'all say, where would that leave the American economy? Huh? Food for thought, ain't it? I hate to borrow Arsenio Hall's line, but things that make you go,
So then your proxy wars and all these other regime change efforts and your foreign policy as it currently exists, you'll put it in full force over there to silence out that life. But the internet is forever. So what do? You repeal Section 230? I think this Supreme Court would do that under this fictional narrative that you're going on. So now look at how darker and darker it gets for you. Not us. For you. Look how deeper and deeper into the darkness of ignorance and fiction and misinformation that you're willing to exist in, knowingly exist in, just so you can have the comfort of not hearing the voices of the people you actively oppress on a daily basis. And we're the bad guys. You want to talk to us about who makes up 13% of the population and commits 100 billion% of all the violent crimes and all these other bullshit narratives you tell yourself. I think it's fascinating. I think you are fascinating. I think somebody should scoop your fucking brains out and put them somewhere so the world of civilized humanity could study it and understand how to cut that shit off at the genetic level. Keep your race, but just identify that genetic mutation that allows that type of fictionalized mind to animate itself. Whether it is muting the historical trauma that has twisted your epigenetics to accept this fictional reality, because ours was twisted because you twisted it during slavery, and then everything you did after it all the way up to this day with the immeasurable amount of gaslighting, right? Just find that, whatever that is, and scoop it the fuck out of these people so humanity could progress to this pre-theological Tower of Babel reality the Bible says that we existed at a point in time. Then for some odd reason, this jealous and short-sighted God of theirs destroyed it. Let's go back to that place where we were all functioning as a people towards a collective goal. But that's my piece, man.
And when has that ever been? That would be my question. Because throughout the history, like I said, I don't have to make any of this up. You can go, history defines itself, folks. And that's a part of a problem with that part of America. You want to acknowledge your greatness, but when somebody wants to tell you you really weren't that great, you don't want to hear that. You want to say, let's make America great again, but without the help of indigenous people, the slaves that you held captives for years, the other immigrants that came across these shores to this country to find a better life. Without that, America would not be the country that it is. But for some reason or the other, white folks think they got a monopoly on that. We built this country. No, you didn't. And now you have the leader of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts. He's put together this package called Project 2025. Project now dubbed to be named Project 2026. Welcome back, Shaw. Project 2026. That y'all, everybody seems to be like, it's okay. It's not going to affect us, really. But let's go back in time a little bit, okay? Because remember, a lot of the things that going on right now, the high gas prices and all this other stuff. Again, folks, you got to pay attention to these Senate hearings and things that's going on. We just had the Secretary of whatever his name is, whatever the finance secretary, whatever it is. Remember back maybe 8-9 months ago, he said that the economy was going to be booming. There was going to be 5.4% GDP growth. The facts and figures just came out just about less than 48 hours ago. Guess what it's at? All zeros till you get to the end. 0.5%. 0.5%. However you write it down. Gas is high. Food is high. We're at a war. And they asked this person in charge, did it have anything to do, the guy, high gas prices, had that anything to do with the war? A war that we didn't ask to be in. He couldn't answer the question. You don't have to believe anything I say here. But if you really want the truth, go watch those Senate hearings and see how these people will not answer your question. Even if you were there, they wouldn't give you a straight answer. Even if you were the person answer the question. It's dodgeball. And I wish I had time last week to broadcast some of this stuff, but maybe that's what we'll do on our next Saturday show. We'll show you some of what these so-called leaders been doing. Now let's take this off the screen and move on to the next thing here. All right. Let's go back in time. Here, let's see, which one do I want to do? Here is Kevin Roberts introducing and explaining what Project 2025 is. I think this is probably 2023, 24, somewhere around in there. But this was before Trump was elected. Remember, everybody was screaming that Trump had nothing to do with Project 2025. Y'all remember that, right? Y'all remember that. And even in this, well.
Joining us, and we're joined today by Kevin Roberts, president of the Heritage Foundation, and he's here because of what a lot of politicians like to call Project 2025. It's the subject of a lot of criticism from the Democrats and a lot of praise from Republicans. So I just want to start out by asking, What is Project 2025?
David, thanks for the opportunity to visit with you.
I suppose if progressive Democrats hate it, it's a good idea. And it's a good idea because it's a corrective to what's happened for too long in this country, which is over the last half century, especially since LBJ was president, progressive Democrats, the radical left, have taken over the federal government.
Now, I want y'all to notice something, folks. The video glitches, and it's not me glitching it. I got this from the Heritage Foundation, from his website, from their site. But you notice the video glitches, and if you listen real closely, you'll hear him answering, but then you'll hear him re-answering it. Let's go back. Let's start from the beginning. I wanted y'all to start up to see if anyone will pick up on that. Now let's go back. Now that I've dropped that in, I want y'all to listen very carefully and watch the glitches. What's that telling me? That this is altered. They took out the parts that they didn't really want you to hear. But even after taking out some of the parts that they didn't want us to hear, we still heard all of this. Listen.
President of the Heritage Foundation, and he's here because of what a lot of politicians like to call Project 2025. It's a subject of a lot of criticism from the Democrats and a lot of praise from Republicans. So I just want to start out by asking, what is Project 2025?
David, thanks for the opportunity to visit with you.
I suppose if progressive Democrats hate it, it's a good idea. And it's a good idea because it's a corrective to what's happened for too long in this country, which is over the last half century, especially since LBJ was president, progressive Democrats, the radical left, have taken over the federal government as unelected bureaucrats.
So, Kevin, what are you? You are an unelected bureaucrat. That is your title, according to what you're saying. That's what you are. You're an unelected bureaucrat. You set policy, whether I want to agree with it or not. You are the author, one of the co-authors of Project 2025. And this is what the country is under right now. I'm going to show you a little bit later on of how much of Project 2025, which is soon to be Project 2026, has been implemented. And I'm going to show you also some of the what they've targeted and what they're still targeting.
Project 2025 is an attempt to restore proper constitutional order to this country. It is a set of policies. It is a menu of options. I like to refer to it.
So you can't just go by words. You got to pay attention to words. Constitutional order. Who wrote the Constitution? Any black and brown people help write that? Constitution was written by who? For. And why? For white men. By white men, for white men. Am I wrong? They didn't include women in that. They didn't include American Indians in that. They didn't include black people in that. The Constitution was written for the protection of white men. That's why they use it to get them in trouble and get them out of trouble.
Sort of the menu from Cheesecake Factory. It's every possible thing that someone might want to take on, which means there's no possible way that any president, even if he or she was really aligned with everything, would take on all of these, right? It's a manual for conservative policy thought, but it's also a database for personnel who may be chosen by the next president and his advisors to do so. That's ultimately his.
And we told y'all, if Donald Trump came into office, the first heads that was on the chopping block was going to be who? Black women. And guess what he did?
Choice, right? And I think the thing that the media has gotten totally wrong about Project 2025 is both some of the particular planks in it, but also that the whole point is to be of service to any administration. Frankly, we would love it if the current administration would use it. We know that philosophically it's unlikely. I'm not being sarcastic in saying that, but we also know that great ideas and great people rise to the top, and if the will.
Well, I can go back to your statement right now there, Lord Naruku, because that's exactly what's going on. Literally, if you do not agree with the government and the masses, you were considered unpatriotic. Isn't that what he just said, Lord Naruku? Isn't that what he just said? We're putting in place that people that's favorable to us. If you're not with us, you're against us, and we're going to get rid of you. And the president that's coming in, the next president, because you couldn't have handed this Project 2025 to former Vice President Harris and thought she was going to implement this. You couldn't hand this to Barack Obama and thought he was going to implement this. You couldn't hand this to Joe Biden and thought that he was going to implement this. You had to find somebody like Donald Trump who thought like you. You had to find someone that won the unpopular vote, but won the electoral college. How does that work, folks? A government for the people, by the people, but the popular vote don't really mean nothing to it.
The will of the American people this November is to elect Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as president and vice president, then the strength of those ideas, the strength of those people, forget about the label Project 2025, I think will rise to the top.
Well, the Democrats say it's a blueprint for a Trump administration. I mean, why are they wrong?
It's a blueprint only if President Trump.
Vice President Vance choose it to be, right? They're the bosses. They're the guys who are going to make the decision along with their advisors, and perhaps some historical context is helpful. The Heritage Foundation has done this since 1980 with what we then called Mandate for Leadership. I think what has made Project 2025
under any name, that's what I said, since the 1980s, folks. They introduced this to Reagan. This is whether you want to believe it or not, Reagan did implement some of these ideas. He did borrow a few of these ideas. We call it Reaganomics. Remember that back in the 80s for those of us who's around? Reaganomics. Gap Band had made a song about it, Reaganomics.
Such a boogeyman for progressive Democrats this time around is that the conservative movement has never been this unified. We've never been this organized. We've never been this resolute, especially after the assassination attempt on Saturday.
That's why a lot of people say that they're talking about, of course, the fake assassination of Donald Trump. Alleged attempted assassination. Why is that not in the news, folks? Why aren't we hearing about that on a daily basis? Why is that just disappeared? Why don't we don't even talk about the guy who made the attempt on the president's life? Why aren't we talking about the guy who they called at the golf course that made an attempt on the president's life? Why aren't we hearing about the guy that took out Charlie Kirk? Why is none of that in the news? Tell me why.
Making sure that when conservatives are in power, whether they're president of the United States, member of the U.S. Senate, governor, mayor, that there's actually policy substance behind what they want to do. There will always be disagreements in this country about policy direction. I think it's imperative on the left that they stop the rhetoric. Some of it's been vile and violent. Some of it has led to threats on those of us on the right. That was happening.
Okay, let's talk about threats, vile. We can go back to Nancy Pelosi and what happened to her husband. We could talk about the folks in Minnesota. We can talk about the unalivement of those folks, the Congress folks, the attempted killing of what you call it, kidnapping of Gretchen, the mayor of whatchamacallit. Let's talk about, if we want to talk about political violence, it's not coming from, as they say, the left. It's coming from you folks. According to what we knew, what y'all said about the Charlie Kirk's assassin, it was politically motivated. And you couldn't get no more lily white than where it happened at. Let's and here and closest to me, let's take Dylan Roof. Look what he did. And look at his manifesto. How about the guy in Tops Grocery? Look at his manifesto. All of those mention race. Black people was the bane of their existence. Black people was the bane of their existence. They gave black people the reason why they did what they did. Correct me. Matter of fact, I don't need no correction because I'm not wrong on that. Their manifesto said such.
Happening before Saturday. If they want to have a policy conversation, let's be intellectually honest about it, which is why I appreciate having this conversation with you.
They say you guys want to end abortion,
Which is wrong.
want to allow the president to stack the government with partisans rather than.
Okay, he said this is wrong. Is that true now? We know that's not true because they ended Roe v. Wade. So we know that's not not true. Let's back up a little bit. Listen to all the things that he says that they were wrong about. Listen again.
To stack the government with partisans rather than so why are they wrong about that?
Are they not stacking the government? Did they not rush to the Supreme Court justices? Did Trump not appoint over what 260, 270 judges? Does judge not, as in the famous line from the Godfather, he got so many judges in his pocket and politicians in his pocket now? Does Trump not have that moniker? Just a couple of days ago, there was a bipartisan bill passed, and all of a sudden, Trump said, "Nope, nope, thank you, I don't want it." Matter of fact, until you pass the Save America Act, they're trying to pass this Project 2025. Same language. It's the same damn thing. We're not going to pass that housing bill if I don't get my Save America Act passed, even though it's bipartisan. So don't tell me about bipartisanship.
Let's take those two issues, abortion.
Because they have a first grade
Level of reading comprehension.
What do you want to do with abortion policy?
With abortion policy, we aspire to a pro-life country.
That is settled by society and culture.
How do you aspire to be a pro-life country? How do you be pro-life means literally what? That women can't have the abortions, correct? There's no reason that they want to give that a woman can have an abortion. It's illegal in the majority of the states after the overturning of Roe versus Wade. We've now known that some women have lost their life from either childbirth or complications, not then, but later. I don't know all the ins and out the workings of the female anatomy, so I won't even make no attempt to try to. But from what I understand, DNCs and all this other thing, all of that is banned. They're even trying to go after the morning after pill. But here before Trump got elected, they said he didn't want to do nothing with it. They just wanted to kick, but we trying to get it to a pro-life country. You did. No, you're not tripping. The background is changing, Shar. That's what I'm telling you. This video has been altered. And I wanted to point that out. And I'm glad you've seen it now. Because I thought I was tripping too. This video that I got from their website has been altered. And that's a good point right there, Pure Butterfly. They only aspire to be pure fetus. Because listen, if you look at it as a whole, that your statement would be absolutely right, because they don't want children to have free lunch meals. They don't want children to have free health care. They don't want mothers to have WIC. They don't want mothers to have AFDC or any of that. They want to cut all those so-called subsidy programs out. Basically, what the Heritage Foundation is saying, fuck them kids. Say what you want to. If you ain't with us, fuck them kids.
President Trump and Vice President Vance have charted a vision in terms of politics and policy that reflects the majority of the country, which is, let's let states focus on this. And beyond that, I think it's important to understand on other policy areas like education, which happens to be my policy expertise. I'm a fifth-generation teacher, only went to public schools, grew up a poor kid like J.D. Vance. What stands in the way?
That's the standard bureaucratic line right there. I grew up a poor kid. You know, I hustled my way through. I made it through. I got educated. But where did your education come from, sir? I know you didn't go back from what I saw the topic of your dissertation. You didn't speak to any of them people that you talked about because you weren't around then. So your PhD came from education from somebody else about us that you transferred to it. You didn't go to the little black neighborhoods and say, "Hey, can I speak to your great grandmama?" Did you? But that's what they always want to say, you know. I pulled myself up out the mud. Why you black folks can't do that? because some people don't even have that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I know it's cliche, but some folks don't even have bootstraps to pull up, much less boots.
Of people in South Texas or in the Rust Belt in achieving the success that, say, J.D. Vance has gotten, is that we've spent $1 trillion in the U.S. Department of Education or so since 1979, and all that's happened is that academic achievement in every demographic group has gone down. What Project 2025 charts is a vision that updates education, that devolves power from Washington and gives it back to the state.
Absolutely not. See, again, you got to go back to what they said then and what's going on now. And it's easy to debunk what he's saying. They're talking about charter schools. You have to be of a certain demographic. You have to be of a certain monetary percentage. You have to be one of those elitists to be actual even considered for some of the schools that they're talking about, the educational programs. They want to eliminate public money, public funding for public schools. They want to eliminate the free lunch programs. They want to eliminate all of that. And it goes back to what the statement here earlier from Lord Nico. What's your name is, Lord? Not that Lord, but you know what I'm saying. If you ain't with us, you're not patriotic, and we're not going to do nothing for you. But listen to what he's saying, folks. But he's running around calling the folks that think like unelected bureaucrat. Listen to this unelected bureaucrat from a couple of years ago that's trying to convince the American public that what's going on right now wasn't going to happen.
States and to the people.
What's your response to this claim that your plan would give the president basically unlimited power to prosecute political enemies, to eliminate regulations?
There's nothing in the plan that says
that. I think what the Biden-Harris campaign has done is take a 100% mischaracterization of the plan, and they've spent more money on that attacking it than we have spent putting the plan together. They get one thing right, however. One thing right amid all of that mischaracterization, so I'll give them credit. It does call for the elimination of the U.S. Department of Education.
That's true. And why would you want to do that?
He says it himself. But if you get on some of these streams and say that, no, he never said that he wanted to eliminate the public educational system. How many of y'all would that affect? How many of y'all school-age children, if you eliminated the public educational system, how would it affect you? Huh? How would it affect you? How would it affect your children if they couldn't go to a public school? If you had to spend, let's say, $10,000 a year to educate your child, or $40,000 a year, or $10,000, $5,000 a year, how many of y'all could afford to send your children to one of these charter schools?
Because it's just been a disaster, as I mentioned.
I still, believe it or not, have friends on the political left. I've been the only conservative faculty member in some faculties, and so I understand that slings and arrows come when you're a conservative and say these things, but by any objective measure, for someone who's intellectually honest, who considers themselves easily convinced by facts, there is no objective measure that says that the U.S. Department of Education's creation has benefited American education. Every objective measure since its creation has actually gone down.
Now, of course, President Trump former President Trump is trying to distance himself from your plan. He says he doesn't know.
Okay, let it wait for that answer. But I want y'all to notice something. I'm sure maybe it's just me, but I see two different settings. Maybe it's optical illusion that I'm looking at. But if you look behind the gentleman with the checkerboard shirt on, you will see a portion of that building. But where's the flag? Maybe it's from the poor editing, but I see two different, maybe it's how they edit it, maybe it's two different angles, but something is fishy about this. Wouldn't you agree?
About it. That's not really true, is it? I mean, he's spoken at Heritage Foundation events, and there are a lot of his people who have been involved in developing this plan.
Look, we have the Heritage Foundation
has a good relationship with President Trump even to this day. We understand with absolutely no hard feelings that he's.
Okay, again, I sure want to point out to you. See that brown building back there? When we go back to a full shot of both men on the screen, you don't see as you only they're both sitting on the same level. So that means in each take, you should be able to see that building, whether they move the camera around or not. But when you see him, you only see a small portion of it. Somebody tried to edit it, but I don't think they edited it very well. I don't know. I could be tripping, though. I could be tripping.
He has to run a campaign independent of all of these other groups, right? We also, for the sake of our groups, because we're nonprofits, are independent of a presidential campaign. We're in a political season right now. That political season is going horrifically for progressive Democrats because the policy record of the Biden-Harris administration is awful on the economy, on education, on energy, on foreign policy. I could keep going on, but I'll finish answering your question.
Okay, under the Biden-Harris administration, none of what he said is true. And that's data that you can go look for yourself. Sure, what they'll point to is the unemployment was at 4.7% when they left office, but it was much higher than that when they took office. And who did they take office from? Usually, the first year of any person's presidency is a direct reflection of the last president. Either prosperity or you have to unfuck what the last president did. Let's look at the two last Democratic presidents and the last two Republican presidents, being Trump and Bush and Obama and Biden. Look at the contrast. Obama had to do what to get out of, took who out of what? Didn't he have to bail out the auto industry? Didn't he have to bail out the insurance industry and the banking industry? And who caused that? The housing crisis? Bush. Now let's go to Trump. Although no, he might not have been the cause of COVID, but his handle of COVID, no one can absolutely say was correct. He even told y'all to put bleach up your butt or shine some fluorescent light on you. When we first had COVID, Trump said it would be gone by Easter. Look how many lives COVID took. Now let's go to Biden. Chips and Science Act, new infrastructure bill, all of that. The inflation rate came down. The unemployment rate came down. Now let's look at the second Trump administration. Chaos, wars. Bitch at Biden for pulling us out of a 20-year war in Afghanistan. Just to put us right back in one. All sitting on a plane comfortably with this guy. Look, this was an actual photo. This wasn't this. All I did was just change the background a little bit, folks. But this is an actual photo of Kevin Roberts and Donald Trump on Air Force One. And this was before the election was done. That is an actual photo. All I did was superimpose it and added some background.
President Trump, when he gets into a transition, if that's the will of the American people, then we'll decide the policies, the people he wants in his administration. All Project 2025 is a set of recommendations, and some percentage of those will be accepted. You know, Heritage Foundation is often referred to as Ronald Reagan's think tank. Ronald Reagan didn't accept 100% of our recommendations. I think ultimately it's a non-story because this is how the apparatus on the left always works. What's driving Biden and Harris and progressive Democrats crazy is that we've taken a page from their playbook to offer some recommendations if our candidates actually win.
And they may try 2025 a central focus of their campaign. When did they start doing that? Do you know how this came
sometime
about?
this spring.
I mean, do you know how this came about, or what have you heard about why they decided to make this such a deal?
Well, I think they're desperate. They have nothing else to run on.
No, it wasn't they were desperate. That was a warning cry from the Democrats. Don't let these people convince y'all that your life is going to be so much better if this Project 2025, 2026 gets implemented. You are lying to the American people. You're not, they're telling you they wasn't going after Roe v. Wade. They wasn't going to raise your taxes. They wasn't going to cut Medicaid. But I'm going to show you that was their intentions all along. How people can keep a straight face like they do.
That. I mean, just as a social scientist, as someone who I guess is something of an expert on politics, if you're Biden and Harris, what else would you run on? Their record's awful. The contrast in policy between.
How about the economy? How about all those different things that you keep on saying that they were awful at? Go back and look for yourself, folks. Now, is there room for disagreement? Is there room for finger pointing in the Biden Harris administration? Of course there is. That's politics, of course. Not going to get everything right. But I bet you there's a whole lot more finger pointing going on in this administration than the Biden-Harris. I bet there's a whole lot more corruption going on. Remember, what happened to the Biden crime family? What happened to those what happened to all of those hearings that the American people spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on? What happened to the Hunter Biden laptop scandal? What happened to all of that? Democrats got to answer for that too.
Between the Biden-Harris administration and Trump's first term is night and day. I think that the American people are seeing this. What we hear so often in the focus groups we do around the country, David, is that Americans are saying, we don't even really care about which political party we belong to. We belong to the common sense party. And common sense is telling Americans that Biden has been an utter failure. They wish him a long, healthy, well-deserved, peaceful retirement. And from a policy perspective, just purely, I think that would be great for America.
That Trump has said that some of your ideas are crazy. Do you know the specific policies that he disagrees with you guys on?
No, not yet. I imagine at some point.
The only reason why Trump was trying to say about this, because another thing out of that playbook, let me say something bad about them so I can distance myself. It's called plausible deniability. That's all that was Trump was about. And again, he's such a narcissist. Of course, anytime that people started talking about Project 2025, and let's take a deeper dive into this, Trump did something to divert our attention away from it. I think he called it something 47, whatever he called it, 47 something, whatever. But if you go look at the two playbooks, they're the same language. The same language.
We'll have that conversation at the time we move from the political season, which is not our domain, right? We're in the policy and ideas and sort of academic and intellectual lane. It's the nature of the think tank. When we get into policy,
unelected bureaucrats, just like you called the Democrats, unelected bureaucrats.
Policy conversations will figure that out. And to be clear, whether it's President Trump or whether it's a governor or whether it's a member of the Senate or the U.S. House, they tell us what they want their priorities to be. And the way public policy organizations work, the way Project 2025 works, is then say, if that's your priority, sir or ma'am, then here's the policy substance. Here's the plan that you might enact to go do that. So that's how that chronology works. The standard bearers always make the decisions.
And I know Trump doesn't want to deal with Social Security or Medicare. He doesn't really want to touch it. What do you all say about those entitlement
We
programs?
say nothing about Social Security in Project 2025.
Some of the individual organizations.
Again, remember, he just said, we said nothing. We say nothing. That should have been in a conversation. If we say nothing, why feel the need to expound on it like this? If you say nothing, then you don't have an answer for it. We say nothing. Isn't that how it goes?
that are part of Project 2025 might do some work on that. Keep in mind, we've got 110 conservative organizations that are part of it. But we understand that President Trump not only has an intuitive sense of where the American people are on that question and others, but he also understands that obviously he's just going to have 4 years to get some priorities done. And he's rightly focused on those issues on which 80% of American people agree. We got to
Folks, I can tell you, I'll get the information on it. So I want to say allegedly, I want to make sure all my ducks is in a row before I do a live stream on it. But from one of my understandings is that by 2050, 52, Social Security will be broke. That's what they're doing.
Close the border. We've got to end illegal immigration. We have to end the nonsense of the Green New Deal. We've got to revitalize the American economy. And we have to stop being the police force around the world and actually have a very restrained sense of foreign policy. Use sparingly the military if we must, but it also has to be very lethal.
I know.
Okay, so use sparingly as the military as you must. We just saw the military in the streets. Major Dude one. Okay, I'll read your comment. Since you had to subscribe in order to comment, so I'll give your comment a read here. Democrats had their chance to ruin what's good in life. What do you mean? Now that the pendulum swings back to normal, it may be a little beyond then than judge which is better. We are on the edge of great times for all of us. All of us like who? Major Dude, expound on your comment. Expound on your comment, sir. On the edge of greatness for who? Trump and his family? The way they have them enrich themselves? Maybe about all the folks that he gives that insider trading to, because he'll go to a rally, speak about a particular business or an entity. Next thing you know, the stock market. No, sir. All of us. How, sir? How, Major Dude? Explain to me. How is it going to help all of us? What the Trump administration is doing, please explain to me. Give me 5 things that the Trump administration is doing right now to help the average American citizen. Let's talk. You can type them one at a time, or you can type all 5 of them in. Is the economy any better? Don't put that one down because we know it's not. Is gas prices lower? Don't put that one down because we know it's not. Is housing prices lower? Don't put that down because we know it's not. Is insurance premiums lower? Don't put that down because we know it's not. I took your top 4 down. I took your top 4 away. So what else you got for me? Is groceries cheaper? Don't put that down because we know it's not. So what else you got for me? What policies the administration put in place to make the average American citizen say what you just said? Please explain. Thank you very much.
I've been told by several people that President Trump is kind of annoyed with you guys, and he thinks that y'all are trying to steal some of his thunder, trying to take credit for some of the things he's done. Have you gotten any blowback from Trump or any of his aides about the publicity surrounding?
They are rightly focused on winning the presidential
campaign, and purely from a policy perspective. I don't do politics leading a nonprofit. I'm, as you know, an academic and a policy guy.
No, you're not an academic. Well, I guess you are. I'm not going to take that from you. PhD is the PhD. Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay, I don't like people insulting my intelligence, Kevin Roberts. So I won't insult yours. 2032, Sean. So that's not too far away, folks. 2032, Social Security system will be broke. And like Pure Butterfly said, that's not an entitlement. But those of us that worked, when you see that whatchamacallit on the side that says, I'm going to take some of your money, when your paycheck got them FICAs and all that other thing, SSN and all that other stuff, that's your money. The government says, for as long as you work, we're going to take a little bit of your money and put it to the side. So when you can't work, you'll be able to at least make an attempt to live off that. 2032 ain't too far away, is it, folks? So, Major Dude, what about you? Are you close to retirement age, Major Dude? Are you looking forward to Social Security benefits, Major Dude, anytime soon? Or someone close to you looking for Social Security benefits anytime soon?
When we get into the policy season, once the election is behind us, then that's when public policy organizations, if they are so called, will perhaps have the opportunity to present some recommendations.
And the first time I heard about Project 2025 was I heard it was basically a recruiting mission, that you guys were looking for people to staff a Republican administration, or in the alternative, a Trump administration. So how can you say, aren't y'all basically trying to forge whatever Trump does when he's get elected? Aren't y'all really trying to staff the second Trump administration?
Actually, what we're trying to do,
Beyond trying, we've succeeded in doing is building a personnel database for the entire center-right movement in the country.
And they gave that to Elon Musk. They called it Doge, and they went in through people's public, personal, private records, and they found out who you voted for and why you voted for, or if you had anything to do with Trump's impeachment or anything against Trump. Or were you an staunch an opponent of Project 2025? They got rid of you. That's what he did. They took a book of loyalists to Trump and said, these are all the people that are with you, President. Because if you look at Trump's staff, the majority of the folks that wrote Project 2025 either on his staff or have something to do with his election. Go look for yourself. I can't get it all to you.
And whoever the conservative standard bearer is, in this case, President Trump, if they choose that they want some of these people, then they are able to do that. The great thing about Project 2025 is that we had a goal of recruiting 10,000 people into this database. Obviously, President Trump, Vice President Vance, their advisors will make those decisions, but never before has the conservative movement done this kind of thing. The left has done this for years. I think a lot of the mischaracterization is the intention behind that is.
Folks, the left has done what for years? Name one social net program that the left, as he said, has eliminated. Now, if you want to say there's some social programs that some people are fraudulent in, yes. But we know who commits the most fraud in those programs. And I wonder why folks never bring up Brett Favre's name when they talk about defrauding the Social Security or the benefits system. Wonder why nobody ever mentions Brett Favre. Thing of the past.
Is to sort of obscure that's what they've been doing. But the great thing about all of the earned media that Project 2025 has gotten in the last week is that we've had 3,000 additional Americans decide that they want to throw their name in the hat.
We're not going to push those guys to be part of the administration?
we're not pushing anybody. President Trump and Vice President Vance.
To make those decisions.
And lastly, how does it feel to be a political punching bag? I'm always curious about this.
You know, I learned at an early age
That you only take flack when you're over the target. So bring it on. We're taking.
That's not true. That's thing called collateral damage. And that's what's happening to the American people is the collateral damage of this Project 2025, which you are the author of, sir. Let's move this off the screen. So again, you got to do like I say, you got to do your research, folks. Information is not going to come to you, or it's not going to be right. It's not going to be sitting at your front porch when you open the door, or sitting on your screen when you go to your computer. And that's what I mean by this internet is a dangerous thing if you use it for what they intended it for. Yes, you remember that? They actually wrote it out. And when Project 2025 was exposed for the world to see, Kevin Roberts is right. The recruitment went up. And a lot of those people that they recruited, those 3,000 people that he's talking about, Sandy, they're part of the Trump administration right now, or part of the Trump regime, I should say, right now. Right now. I want y'all to understand, we got a former Fox News host that wasn't there full time as the Secretary of Defense, or they call it the Secretary of War, a drunk named Kash Patel running the FBI that's carting his girlfriend around from city to city, town to town, at the taxpayer money. This big 250-year celebration, 250 celebration. If you're playing the lottery or something like that, or you're playing the numbers, you might want to play 250. They couldn't find no quality acts for this upcoming celebration, because once they found that it was just going to be another political rally for Donald Trump, hell no. So who they get? They got Kash Patel's girlfriend as the headliner. Ain't no nepotism involved there, is it? Boy, we're going to all rush out to get her latest single. Let's go to our next one here. Again, Project 2025. If you don't believe me, listen to them. That was the main man. Now let's listen to one of his, I like to call them co-conspirators. Shout out to ProPublica. Shout out to my man earlier, the tight. Man, I forgot your name just that quick, brother. I'm sorry, man.
Consider this whole situation. There are just between 3,000 and 4,000 political appointees, sitting atop millions of career federal employees and bureaucrats.
3,000 people that he just talked about, sitting atop millions of people to make the decision. Isn't that the definition of racism? To control how people live, why they live, and where they live. You got 3,000 people in the Trump administration right now that's doing just that. This is not my video. This is not a Democratic video. This is not somebody who doesn't believe in the Project 2025, 2026 implementation. This is their own people. So you can't argue with me when I say, listen to this.
In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle.
In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper.
Whether we go forward together with courage or turn back to policies that weakened our economy, diminished our leadership in the world, America's future will be in your hands.
Notice there was one president that was not mentioned or not shown. And the other president that was shown, the Democratic president, they show him as being what? A bumbling buffoon. Did y'all notice that? But Barack Obama was nowhere in sight. As a matter of fact, did you see any people of color in the opening stanza of this video? They had the nerve to show you the Statue of Liberty, but didn't show one immigrant. Actually, they did themselves.
Hi, my name is Spencer Cradian, and I serve at the Heritage Foundation as Associate Director of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, or Project 2025. This is a coalition of more than 40 conservative organizations in DC and out of DC. And our goal is to ensure that the conservative administration that takes office in January of 2025 is ready on day one. Ready with people, ready with policy, and ready with plans. Project 2025 is organized into 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is a policy book. It's going to be released in the spring of 2023, and it's going to outline a conservative vision of success at each federal agency. We have almost 400 people who are contributing to this policy book.
So basically, he just told you we got 400 infiltrators already in the government that's distributing this propaganda. This was 2023. that they started this, because they kind of figured, remember, I told y'all to focus on why are they so hell-bent on Joe Biden, calling him old, when Trump is just as old. And I don't know who did your makeup there, dude, but you might want to go back and tell them, damn, next time don't do it like that. You look casket ready.
It's a lot to manage. Pillar 2 is a personnel database. We want Mr. and Mrs. Smith to come to Washington, and we're going to go out and identify and recruit people to be in this personnel database. People at high levels, people at low levels, and everybody in between. Pillar 3 is a series of trainings, just like this video. These are important because we want the people who go to Washington in 2025 to serve the next president to be well-trained, to know what to expect, and to have an idea of what they can do to restore greatness to our country. And then Pillar 4 is a playbook, a game plan for each federal agency in more detail than Pillar 1. Starting with the official transition period and going out all the way the first 6 months of the new administration. We need to know what at each agency needs to happen on day 1. What needs to happen on day 2, day 5, day 10? Who are the people who need to be in place, the positions that need to be filled immediately?
And what did the Trump regime do in day 1, day 2, day 10? They went straight after DEI. They gutted the federal workforce. They sent Elon Musk in under the guise of Doge, trying to, what was they say, point out waste, fraud, and abuse. Although you had, what's her name? The Ice Queen, the Ice Barbie, what's her name? Running around spending $250 million on a fucking commercial. We had Kash Patel running a flying liquor bar, taking his girlfriend to different hockey games and shit like that, all on the dime of the American people. We had they had the floating fuck palace that the American people was paying for. We were fear mongering, right? And you're absolutely right again there, Sandy. This is about power. This is not about people. This is about power and who can hold on to it, and how much can you take when you're in power.
That's Pillar 4. Each of these pillars plays a vital role in Project 2025. By way of introduction, I'm a former special assistant to President Donald Trump and Associate Director of Presidential Personnel. It was my job to staff the administration for the president at various federal agencies.
So now you know who was the head of firing you. This guy right here identified you and took your job. This guy right here. I told y'all, I keep telling y'all, it's not Trump making these moves. It's the lackeys behind him. Trump is just the figurehead. This guy, and what's his name? Stephen Miller, whatever his name, Stephen Baker, Stephen Miller, whatever his name is. Those are the guys that we need to be talking about. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to flush out. We're going to turn the light on these cockroaches. We're going to set down a few rat traps. We're going to put out the bait car. Because one thing I have noticed today, folks, that normally there would be, what, couple hundred people in here, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 people in here. But since I put it on subscriber only and the trolls can't come in, y'all see the difference? When they can't come in with bullshit. You see the difference?
And I'm honored to be doing much of the same work in my role with Project 2025 from outside of government. One of the highlights of my time in the White House was that I got to work with Caitlin Stumpf. She was my deputy. And she's now also here with me at the Heritage Foundation. And the two of us are going to be doing this video together. Now, as we think about the federal government, we need to think about the federal workforce. It has about 2 million full-time non-military employees. And when you add in the contractors, the number is well more than 10 million. That's a lot of people. But the American people don't elect the bureaucrats. They don't elect the federal contractors. They elect a president. And the president's job is to faithfully execute the laws of our country. The president, of course, does not have the hours in the day to personally perform every function of government.
Okay.
So
he got all night to get and tweet about Barack Obama. He got all night. He up in the wee hours in the morning. And like former President Obama said, he had more important things to do than worry about what his predecessor is doing or did. But Trump can't say that. Trump can't say that at all.
Outsources that to the bureaucracy by necessity, to all of those federal employees and contractors. But he does have some help. Helping him are between 3,000 and 4,000 political appointees.
Political
These are the
appointees.
president's people, the people he brings with him to Washington. And they occupy government jobs. But they're not like what we might call the normal federal employees. They serve in accepted roles. Now, in Washington, D.C., in this town, you frequently hear people say, my dad worked for 30 years at the Department of Labor, or my sister served 5 different presidents as a Foreign Service officer. Well, chances are that is referring to federal employees who are hired through the normal hiring process. There are all sorts of rules and regulations that govern that process. If you want a federal job, they look at your qualifications, your expertise, your work history, your salary history. It's supposed to be competitive and objective. If the Department of Energy is hiring a nuclear engineer who's going to be handling radioactive waste, clearly there are some very specific qualifications that are needed. If the IRS is hiring an HR manager, perhaps less expertise is needed. But the point is that those federal employees are not at risk of losing their jobs with a change in presidential administration.
See, y'all heard this. Those employees that literally are hired through, as they said, the normal circumstances and meet those qualifications, they're not in danger of losing their jobs. Is that true? Let's take black people out of this for a minute. Is that true? No, because we've seen some people that lost their jobs that were of the same hue as this man on the screen, that literally the government had to go back and sue the Trump administration. These people back. Which part am I wrong about so far? Which part am I wrong about so far?
In fact, they have incredible job security. You've probably read stories or heard examples, but the federal government is notorious for its inability to fire virtually anybody. Even if an employee is in trouble, there are hearings, appeals, benefit of the doubt always granted, and it's very rare that the
and all of that, all of those protections from the, I guess what they call them, the unions and all of that was stripped away. They went through and just summarily just fired people for no reason and used the moniker that the president can choose whoever he wants. The president chooses people that are loyal to him. As you can see, the president wasn't choosing nobody. He was.
Federal workforce will actually fire one of its own. But accepted service, the kind that political appointees engage in, is not subject to these same rules and these same standards. These 3,000 to 4,000 appointees serve at the pleasure of the president, and they can be removed by the president at any time. So they don't enjoy the usual perks of federal service.
And folks, I never saw this before, but didn't I tell you that we're going to say it? If not later. They serve at the pleasure of the president. How many times have we heard these bureaucrats and these politicians say that same thing in justification of someone losing their livelihood that's been in a position for how many generals have they fired? Let's go there. Because you can't say that there's very many black generals in the military. So how many generals have they fired? Got you right there, didn't it?
But the converse of that, the 3,000 to 4,000 political appointees don't apply through the competitive process. Their qualifications are not evaluated by career federal HR departments. They're there because the president wants them there, and they serve the president. Consider this whole situation. There are just between 3,000 and 4,000 political appointees, sitting atop millions of career federal employees and bureaucrats. Is that really enough? The president brought those few thousand people with him to change the direction of the government, and the president is expected to deliver what he ran on. The appointees are the ones who make it happen, those 3,000 to 4,000 people. In fact, it would be impossible for the president to change anything without them.
Now, I want y'all to understand something. He don't know that I'm listening to this. He's talking to his people. So with these cavalier things that he's saying, he's talking to those people that work for the Heritage Foundation. This is one of those HR videos that all of them have to watch. This is a training video. You know how when you get a new job and they send you to watch this video, that video, every employer at the Heritage Foundation had to sit through this video.
3,000 to 4,000 political appointees, enough to turn around that federal battleship. Think about it. These are the only people at their agency who are accountable to the president and who serve at his pleasure. What does the number of appointees suggest about the president's accountability to the people who really matter, the voters? Or imagine what would happen if almost all federal employees opposed a certain president. Would you bet on just a few thousand people to overcome the massive federal bureaucracy?
And that was the only...
Some people want to reduce the number of political appointees or reclassify.
And that was the only way, folks, that they could really do what they do. You got these 3,000 plus people. With, we know it's 374,000 people lost their jobs in the first 6 months. Black women lost their jobs. The unemployment for black people right now is what? For women is black women is 6.8, and for black men it's 7.5 or something like that. All since the Trump administration, where when Biden left office, the unemployment rate was holding steady at 4.7, 4.5. But I put the link down in the description if you want to go and watch the rest of this. I just want y'all folks to know, like I kept telling you, it's not Trump implementing these plans. It's these lackeys, these 3,000 folks that he appointed to run into the government and dismantle it and destroy it. And the leader of that, the guy that wrote it, is none other than Kevin Roberts. And most of what you see from Project 2025, folks, affects black and brown people. You can argue it all you want to, but it affects black and brown people. Argue with me all you want. Truth is truth. Now let's go do a quicker update here. Let's before we go into this, there's one more thing I want to show you. Here's Kevin Roberts on one of the news channels, but I got to cover this up first because I don't want the ABC or CBS or NBC to come in and say, hey, you using our shit.
Conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, is a years in the making, 900-plus page presidential transition plan giving Team Trump a detailed blueprint for a potential second term. That blueprint would radically remake the federal government, if executed, with its stated goal being, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. The project is built on 4 pillars, which go well beyond previous transition efforts. There's the policy agenda, personnel, training, and a 180-day playbook to execute the think tank's plans. Many authors of the blueprint are former Trump officials. Joining us now, one of the architects of Project 2025, the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Roberts. Thank you for joining us and coming. I know people are like, y'all got the architect of the 2025? Yes, because everyone has been talking about it. And we saw an interview that you did with the Associated Press, and we've been reading through some things. And I think we just want to first start with anchoring this conversation in. You told the New York Times that this plan is a plan that is for anyone. It's not just for Donald Trump. You would like if President Biden would implement some of it, but you don't think that that's going to happen. And so you reject the assertion that this is a plan that was cooked up specifically for the second coming of the Trump administration.
I appreciate that question because as you're
Hold on just a second. That guy. This is the guy that slowly but surely is causing all this pain and discomfort in the United States of America with this Project 2025-2026. That guy right there. And before we run to our last and final clip, listen to this.
lobby shows when you walk in, you've got the word honesty and the word accuracy there. That's an honest and accurate depiction, and I'm grateful. Number one, the Heritage Foundation couldn't do that because we are nonpartisan. We can't be tied to one candidate. Secondly, we have offered a briefing of Project 2025 dating back to last year to every candidate for presidency, including President Biden. Honest to goodness, I would have been thrilled if President Biden and his team asked for a briefing. We understand that we have differences of opinion on just about everything. But at Heritage, we believe in telling the truth with a smile on our face. But the last point I should make is that now that President Trump is the nominee, and President Biden has not taken a Project 2025 briefing, President Trump is going to make decisions about policy in his administration if he wins.
And that's important. They approach President Biden with a briefing. President Biden said, I'm not even going to talk to you about Project 2025. As several other presidents, I don't even want to talk to you about Project 2025. This has been around under a different name since the 1980s. And the only president, and I'm using that term loosely, that they could find to implement this Project 2025 that they now call it was Donald Trump. Because every new presidential election, somehow they try to find an audience with that president. And every one of them have turned these guys away until the guy sitting in the middle, Trump. If you look in the background, folks, I want you to start looking around your cities and your states and your towns. If you live in New Orleans, if you live in rural parts of the country, tell me your cities and towns are not starting to look like that if I put color on it. Tell me you can't find a jail damn near in every corner. Tell me that if there's not cameras everywhere. Tell me that the cities like New Orleans that still haven't recovered from Hurricane Katrina, or Puerto Rico, all these places hit by natural disasters. Tell me if they're starting not to look like ghost towns or nobody lives there. Because what did Trump and his cronies do? Cut off FEMA. Now, let's go to our last clip here. Let me remove this from the screen. And let me put this up. Let me take this off. Now, there you have it, folks. If you're really interested, you can go to the website and you can watch this Project 2025 tracker. You can see everything that's going on over there. Look, as you can see, if over 50% implemented, they have how many? How many total objectives? 320. How many agencies involved? He told you only 18 and 19. That's 34. Time to the next election. 938 hours. Let's go. That's how much the Heritage Foundation is paying attention to what's going on, folks. That's it right there in front of you. Look at this. Overall progress. You see it? I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up, folks. This is from this site. This is from the tracker site. I'm not making this up. Let's go some more. It details it. Overall progress, detailed progress and objectives. It gives you everything that they are trying to do. And it gives you what they've completed, what they're going to implement. Look, list goes on. Everything in blue tells you how much of what they're completed at. Everything in blue tells you the percentage of what they're completed at, what they're doing. It gives you the name of what they're doing, what they're trying to destroy. And it gives you how close they are to completing it, either eliminating or adding to in some cases. But let's continue some more. The list goes on, folks. What you're seeing now is only a portion. I didn't scroll through everything. That's only a portion. We stopped it there. Again, I had to go through, wait for a commercial. The Titanic, they still talking about a boat that's been underwater for over 100 and some years. Look. Look at all the things that's been implemented already, folks. Y'all thought these folks was playing? Y'all thought they were playing with this Project 2025 shit? Y'all thought they were playing? Look. I'm trying to make it bigger so I can see it. Y'all thought they were kidding? Let me see if I can make it full screen here. No, can't make it full screen. Can I? I'm trying to make it bigger so I can read some of this, folks. I didn't put my glasses on today. Not like I ever wear them anyway. Reading glasses anyhow. But look, we're going to continue here. Folks can stop it. I'm sure you can see it much bigger on your screens than I can. But one thing I wanted to stop at, Pure Butterfly, you mentioned this. You see that big yellow block right there? Guess what's behind that? Guess what's not been conducted or implemented? Epstein fallout tracker. You got to go to a completely different place for that. They don't care about Epstein. They don't care about the damage that he did to them young women and young girls. They don't care. Look at all this stuff that they've implemented. Everything that you see in green, they've either completed or they're implemented. Energy. Look. The list goes on. You can pause it when you want to and look at some of the things that they have implemented. Energy, the Treasury Department, Labor Department, in the White House. See all these different things that are in green. When you have time, folks, and want to go back and look at it, pause some of this stuff and look at what they have already implemented in that 53% of what they now we used to do, what we can't do no more. Or what policies was in place that they have completely eliminated. But they tried to convince us in 2024 and in 2025 that we was all like if I said, we just whistling Dixie. There was no harm to Project 2025 was going to come to the American people because of it. And we see that's bullshit. Look. So thank Kevin Roberts. And guess what the majority of this implementation, guess who it affects? The very same people that he studied. Us. So again, that 52-point-something million black folks, what do you think would happen if we all got the fuck on? What do you think would happen if they didn't have us to target? If they didn't have some of these so-called subsidy programs to attack. You look at the Department of Education, Department of Interior, the Department of Commerce, DHS, USDA, all of these different things. That was one of the very first things that they did. Energy. Look at all the Department of Defense. Look at all the different things that they have completed according to Project 2025. Look at the Department of Defense. Look at the EPA. Look at how many things that they're rolling back. I'm not making any of this up. This is in black and white. See, folks will get on here and talk about, oh, you don't have no facts. And these are facts, and these are figures. And long as the trolls get out the way, and I don't have to deal with the trolls today, thank God for that. I got time to show you this shit. And some more. Look. It's all there in front of you, folks. You just got to know where to look. It's all in front of you. You just got to know where to look for it. Amazing, isn't it? Stunning, isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? Of all the things. Look. That's USAID shutting that down. Look at all the different projects that they had to attack that. The USAID. Look at all the different things that they had. Each one of these was a pinpoint program of how to eliminate something. Thank you, Shar. If you want to go through and see this entire list, there's the link right there, folks. This ain't no joke. I'm not whistling Dixie here. Everything that you see on the screen not only affects black people, it affects white people as well. Look at some of the things that they have marked, as they say, have marked for death, or things that they're going to implement. They're not done yet. Look. They're not done yet. What you're seeing now are things that they have marked for target. Look at the different. Look at all these things that they're still trying to target, or they're going to make sure that they get rid of. I don't need to make anything up. I don't need to come in and fabricate. This is coming from their website. Education. Look at all the different things. The defense. All of these are different. If they haven't implemented something, they're going to finish off the job. This is the second part of it. This leads into Project 2026, what you're seeing now. Project 2025 is about halfway done. What you're seeing now is the second part, Project 2026, and on into Project 2028 if need be necessary. Every year, the date will change on this until they fully 100% implement everything that they are after here. It ain't me. Read. It's right there in front of you. Look at it. HHS. Look at it. Housing. Look. DHS. Look. Department of Human Services. Look at this. Look at how many things that they have pinpointed that they need, according to them, they need to go fix or correct. The list goes on. And I didn't show you, we didn't go through the entire website, folks. I stopped it. Because it would have taken at least another 15 minutes to scroll through everything. Every time I thought I was at the bottom of the list, it took my little scroller back up about halfway. There's a whole lot more under this. These are projects that they are, in fact, looking at to either end or severely cripple or defund or eliminate, whichever word you want to use. whichever way you want to use it. That's what this is. The Project 2025, soon to be Project 2026 tractor. $320 total objectives. There we have it. More valuable information. Thank you, Shar. Now, before I get out of here, folks, again, I want to thank everybody for showing up. And I'm glad we didn't have a whole lot of trolls in here today. Maybe I wasn't talking about enough controversial subject enough, or maybe the fact that they knew they couldn't come in here and argue with anything that I had to present here today. Project 2025 is dangerous. Not only for black people, not only for brown people, but for you as American citizens. We're coming up on the 250th so-called anniversary of your independence, not ours. Y'all had all kind of shit to talk about Juneteenth. But hey, that's okay. That's okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so very much. If you're interested, a little bit later on this evening, we have smooth jazz coming up all night long from, that's right, Shar, jazz, and mo damn jazz. From 5 to about 11 o'clock tonight, starting off with international recording artist John Amato and Saturday Night Jazz. Right after that, it is Strumming with Ross Morgan, another international recording artist. And a little bit later on in the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is DJ Jeff Daniels and the JDCD. So y'all make sure y'all get over and support the radio station. Thank you so much for supporting me here. Really do appreciate it. But y'all come on over and take a listen to some of the great music that we have over there, Classic R&B Jams. Till then, ladies and gentlemen, like I always say, that's right. Jazz, and mo damn jazz. We got a listening lounge there where you folks can come in and sit back and get comfortable, kick your feet back, or you can just click on the main link and just listen and whistle while you work. With that, I gotta go. Watch your 3, your 6, your 9. Remember, grace a day costs you absolutely nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Say hello to someone. Might change the way they're thinking, might change the way they're living, especially during these times. You never know. If you walk past, don't say hello. Don't say I didn't warn you. Next week, we'll probably do a little bit more, but I think I'll use my man from the Defiant Lawyers, ABT. I haven't seen you out there today. I think you said you were going to be busy, but shout out to you. Thank you for the sending me the link to that. I'll definitely take a look at it. Again, folks, for those of you who want to send me things that you might interested in me talking about or sharing my opinion in, feel free to. You can check me out there on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over, folks. Or just come over to the radio station while you're grooving to the music. Say, hey, when you're on them YouTube streets, talk about this. With that, I'll see y'all. I gotta go.
Look, all you motherfuckers been snitching for him and shit. Now you standing up in here and goddamn it talking about preaching preacher. Fuck that nigga. Fuck that. I'm gonna shoot your ass too, motherfucker. Keep on. You gonna get shot too, nigga. You gonna get shot. God bless the fool, goddammit. God bless the fool. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker. Yeah. Y'all know the motherfucker ain't no good. You want, look,